Okay, welcome. It's nice to see all of you. Thank you for joining us on a Tuesday evening. I think most of you know me. I'm Carly Kastner. I'm the religious school director here at Kol Ami. So, as part of our fourth through sixth grade religious school experience, your students will get eBrew. eBrew is our answer to midweek Hebrew learning, where most synagogues will have you come in midweek and sit down in a formal classroom. We recognize everyone has a very busy schedule. And for the last, I think, 11 or 12 years, we've been working with Rabbi Danny Eskow, who is our eBrew director. And she's been our saving grace, not just before COVID, but especially during COVID and continued on after. So we've been doing this program for a long, long time. This wasn't just a COVID solution. We've been doing this forever. And our students really love it. Essentially, your students will all get 18 one-on-one tutoring sessions. They're all conducted online. And I'm going to actually let Rabbi Danny explain how that works, what a typical eBrew session might look like, introduce some other important people that you're going to become familiar with. And then if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat so you don't forget, and we'll either answer it as we go, and we'll also open it up at the very end for questions. Okay, without further ado, this is Rabbi Danny Eskow.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Carly. It's an honor to be here again, and I think our 12th year. Kol Ami was one of the first synagogues to sign on with our program and take a chance on us when we were young, new people in the field, and it's been a wonderful relationship. We've really gone through several mini generations of families going through our program, and it's been so wonderful to get to know all the students, and we look forward to getting to know the new students in our program. So I'm Danny, so I'm the founder of the program. This is Marissa, who's with me, and she's our director of education and growth. I don't know, she's got a lot of titles. I call her my director of everything. So she's going to be your point person. If you need anything, and we're going to talk about this, you would go to Marissa, and then Marissa will come to me and Carly, and we all work together to make sure your kids and your family has the best experience possible. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go through a couple of things, and then we have time for questions afterwards. So please feel free to put, like Carly said, in the chat, and we'll go from there. Can everybody see my screen? It's always weird with screen share. Good, thank you. Allison, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. Okay, so eBrew at Kol Ami. Who we are. So we're a company that provides curriculum, one-on-one and small group classes for families and communities worldwide. And we have our own special Hebrew curriculum. So our Hebrew curriculum uses words, current events, trivia, and games to create an accessible learning experience for kids. Over the past 13 years that we've been doing this specific program, we've noticed that students do best in terms of decoding and reading fluency when they can recognize the sounds that they're making in the language that they know. And so for most of our students, we also have, for students that have some learning differences, we have, we adjust the program, of course, to meet their needs, because no two students are the same. But we basically use sounds in English to teach Hebrew. The reason why we do this is when we started, we were licensing programs from Israel. We thought, why recreate the wheel? We can partner with other organizations. And we noticed that students were learning a lot faster when we taught in the way that we're teaching. And so we created our own curriculum, and over the past 12 years have edited it and added to it, and it's really become a fun thing for kids. If you break the barrier for entry for kids, you actually make it fun and not miserable, kids will actually learn faster, which is great. Okay, so here is a little bit about our curriculum. So how do we use what students already know to teach something new? So we use English to teach Hebrew, and then we use games and trivia, like I said. We have activity sheets and reviews for each set of letters. And so what we know that kids have a lot of extracurricular activities. My kids are way overscheduled, and we know they don't have a ton of time for homework. So we give them an activity or two, a game, a trivia to do in between sessions, just to reinforce what they've learned so that they are ready for the next session. We have prayer party lessons that work with your Siddur. And we coordinate with Carly and Rabbi Schneider to make sure we are teaching in a way that's consistent with Kol Ami. That was, something we worried about in our first year. Now we feel like we're the extended part of your community. So this is an example of what we do. So this is a very basic part. So for a student who probably has never seen Hebrew before, and so they'll spell the words using a bet. And so this is a boat. So the students will put a bet where a B is, O-A-T, or basketball, they'll put a bet. And then in this first lesson, they're learning Aleph, Bet, Vet. They would then put in an Aleph in any places that there would be an Aleph in the word. So if it's an A sound with a specific vowel. The reason why we do this is we find that if kids are practicing and they recognize the word, they're going to associate that letter with the sound way quicker than if they were just to, learn some obscure word in Hebrew that they're never going to use. And so kids can find the right bet. We have these little cards for each session. So a dalet makes a D sound like dive or day. And so students get to meet the letter. And they look at different fonts because, again, when your students get to Sidurs, once they are able to read and they do tefillah or prayer fluency, and then they get to Torah reading, there's all different types of letters. And what we don't want kids to do is to get to the Torah reading and they're like, oh my God, that doesn't look like the letter that I know. So again, these are just a couple examples, and we'll make this available to you guys if you want to look at it more closely after the session. This is an example of one of our sheets. And so we've created, these were really fun to create. I'm actually serious. They were super fun, but I hate word searches. So there's a word search, there's crosswords, there's a story that kids get to choose, their answers. So I was going to the mall with my mom to get books or Barbies, and they can select which one they want. So that's kind of the game type idea that we're thinking about. So I'm not gonna show this to you because it takes a while, but it's here for you to look at the interactive way in which we engage with the students. This is something we actually developed when we started working with Kol Ami, and Kol Ami is really our program that uses it the most. They're called David and Kelly stories. So it's about David and his possibly imaginary friend or dragon friend, and they go on adventures together. And we've created activities and scenarios that kids in 4th through 7th grade might be dealing with. And they get to go through and finish the story and insert the letters that they've learned within the story. So it's a nice exercise where kids can be creative and can also learn the Hebrew. The next piece that's exciting about working with us is we use a platform called LearnSpeed. This is a really great platform to work with students. It was created specifically for tutoring. And what Marissa will talk a little bit more to this afterwards, but you will be getting a username. Your students will get assigned a teacher, which Carly will speak about later. And you will receive like a static page that will have links to every single one of your student sessions. You don't need a username. You don't need a password for your students to get into the session like Zoom. It's just this one line, this one hyperlink. The nice thing about it is no one can get into the session unless they have that specific link, and the link changes every single lesson. So it's really safe. So Marissa, do you want to take it from here for a second about LearnSpeed?
Sure. So for those of you that are returning, you already have your login information from LearnSpeed. You don't have to do anything. For new families, you'll get a link inviting you to LearnSpeed. It's very simple. You're just going to review and agree to terms of use. You're going to create a username and a password. When you see asking you for credit card information, you can disregard that. That is for our independent students. There's 3 ways you can access your lessons. One is you're going to be receiving a link directly where you can bookmark it. And as Rabbi Danny was saying, you can log in at the date of the lesson. Or you can also log in through your LearnSpeed account and you can see a calendar of all of your lessons and log on to that date. And then the third way is you're going to receive reminders, and you can custom tailor the reminders to either be emailed to you or to be text, and you can log in that way. So you're not going to forget your lesson. It's going to be the same day and same time, and you're going to get all these reminders for the lessons. Okay, so here's an example of what you would be seeing. The join is where you would click on the date, and you can't get into the lesson before 5 minutes, and it has to be the same date for safety reasons. You can't go to any date like Zoom and just use any link. It has to be the specific date. After the lesson takes place, a couple of hours, I would say, you're going to receive a recording that's going to be automatically emailed to you, or you can go back into your LearnSpeed account and hit the playback button for the second example here, and then you can see the recording of the lesson. If you're seeing a message that says processing recording, that means it's just still working on it. Sometimes it may take up to 24 hours, but it will turn to playback where you can actually see it. Here's an example of what your student will see. So this is what we call our vision rooms where the lessons take place. It's an actual whiteboard. They have control of the mouse. They can mute. They can use their screen, and they can use the chat button. It's a great feature where the lessons are interactive with the teacher's prompts. And here's a more specific example. When you sign on to LearnSpeed, it's going to ask you if you want to mute, if you want to share your camera, and then you'll have all these features on the bottom. And if you hover over them, it'll explain what it is. If you have any trouble with the volume or with your video, in your main screen in your LearnSpeed account, there's all these tech prompts that can give you some examples of how to go through any issues. If you're still having issues with it, feel free to reach out to me. I can help you with that. And if I'm unable to, I will definitely connect you with the IT. And that is not going to take a while. It'll take within a couple of hours so we can strategize.
Sorry, I'm muted. One thing I just wanted to say, to interject for a second, Marissa, is that another cool thing about the recordings, part of why we record them is so that we can supervise the lessons and make sure that your students are getting what they signed up for. And if there are any behavioral issues or learning issues, we can catch them right away. The other thing that's really cool with this system is, let's say we're working with your student on the Wehrhafte. We can go in our back end of the system. The teacher can mark the specific minute that the student was singing the Wehrhafte or that the teacher was teaching them, and can like kind of almost put like a little bookmark there, virtual bookmark. And then when you get the recording and the homework, the student, the teacher can say, click on the bookmark on 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That's where you'll hear the Wehrhafte. So it's just some cool, tools that we have to make the learning a little bit easier. And your team captain is Marissa. So she's your person you call for anything and everything. This woman is literally always available doing everything. Even she's just amazing. So this is her email and her phone number. So if you have an issue, issues include your teacher didn't show up, which we hope doesn't happen, but we have humans working. So, it may happen one time. You can't connect. You lost your links. You don't like your teacher. Look, that happens. We've had students in the past where parents have not liked a specific match that we've all made. And we want you to tell us at the beginning, your child and their learning is our #1 priority. The teachers are great, but not every teacher is a perfect fit for a kid. And we want to make sure that we eliminate as many barriers as possible for their learning to be as wonderful for them as it possibly can be. So please feel free to speak up, reach out to Marissa. If Carly needs to be looped in, we can loop her in, but we really are your point people for this program. So here are some questions that most people have asked in the past. So how do we sign up? What are the next steps? How do I choose a time? And what if none of these times work for me? So now I am going to hand it over to Carly, who can explain a little bit how this process works.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rabbi Danny and Marissa. I just want to make sure, you know what, do we need to share the screen anymore? Can we take this shared screen off? Oh, I see. This number, by the way, the number at the end is on our parent eBrew page, so you don't have to worry about that. It is on the parent eBrew page. I'm going to pin myself so people can see me as I'm talking. Okay, so the next steps, you're going to go to the parent eBrew page. I'll send an email reminder with the link, but it's www.templekolami.org/eBrew parent. And as soon as we log off of Zoom, I will open up the form. The form is very, very easy to fill out as long as you're already aware of your schedule and the session days and times that you're interested in. As a reminder, I know I've sent this out a few times. You might be able to hear my dogs. They're starting to play and they're very loud. So apologies, you might hear them playing. Your child is gonna have the same day and time for sessions every single week. So just like every week on Sundays, we have religious school from 9:15 to 11:45. Your eBrew sessions will be the same, depending on the day and time that you choose. So if it's Wednesdays at 4, it will be every Wednesday at 4 on all of the weeks on the eBrew calendar. And that calendar is also on that parent website. So you'll see all the weeks. You can fill out your calendar right away. Additionally, Marissa already mentioned you're going to get a different calendar that literally lists out every single date with links to access your the tutoring session. So it really is easy. You can bookmark that page, which I highly recommend. And anytime it's time for tutoring, you'll open up your personalized calendar, you'll click on the link, and then you're good to go. And you can put all those dates into your personal calendar in advance. Once you fill out that form, we ask that you give us a little bit of time. There are like 60 something students that we have to get scheduled, and everyone's going to have personalized requests for days, times, and some of you want to work with specific tutors. So please, please, please be patient with us. We will accommodate your requests as best as possible. Just please keep in mind, you might request to work with a specific tutor that doesn't share your availability. So if you have a tutor that you worked with in the past and you're just thinking, you know what, it doesn't matter what my availability is, I just want to work with them, you can reach out to that tutor to see what their availability is, but you won't schedule with the tutor. You still need to put in a request form. You can also reach out to Marissa too if you have questions about the tutor availability. There is a list of tutors available on the parent eBrew page, so you can click on that. Again, if your child worked with a specific tutor last year and you want to work with them again and they're on that list of tutors, please make sure to put that request on your form. If there is a tutor your child worked with in the past that they really want to work with again, but they're not on that list, you're welcome to put it in the request form, and we can try to accommodate if they're still available. I just want to make sure that you know that once you fill out the form, if you have any changes to your schedule, please email me and Marissa right away so that we can make that adjustment. If your schedule does change down the line, so say, you know, Thursdays at 2 p.m. work for you now, and then maybe your child gets into the school play and that no longer works for your child. The first thing that you're going to want to do is contact your tutor directly, because for consistency's sake, it's really best if that child stays with the same tutor, and your tutor can potentially help reschedule you. If that tutor doesn't have any matching availability, that's when you'll reach out to Marissa, and she'll do her best to get you scheduled with another tutor as quickly as possible so that we can keep your child on schedule. I want to quickly review the attendance policy, because that's something that I want to make sure you already paid for this program as a part of your religious school tuition. I want to make sure that you get every single lesson that you registered and paid for. Your tutors are happy to reschedule sessions if they know more than 24 hours in advance of the session. Ideally, you'll let them know as soon as possible so that they can, you know, potentially take on other students or do other things with that time. But if you have an emergency, an illness, please let your tutor know as quickly as possible. We'll potentially reschedule within 24 hours if it truly is a last minute emergency. But if it's like, you know, we forgot we had a soccer game today, we're just going to miss the session and it's last minute, you'll just forfeit that session. Comparing it to a day of religious school, right? If you don't come to religious school because you have other conflicts, we don't reschedule religious school that morning. You just miss a day, which is okay. But because our tutors can be flexible, if you know in advance, it's really, really beneficial for you to communicate directly with your tutor. You don't need to contact me or Marissa. If you're going to miss a session in advance, just email your tutor and let them know, and you'll get your tutor's contact information. Danny and Marissa, am I missing anything?
I don't think so. If anyone has any questions though throughout this process, we're all here for you. And again, like I said before, you know, we really know the community very well, and we're in constant contact with Carly and Rabbi Schneider. And so if there are any issues, any questions, any requests, any clarifications needed, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be, you know, monitoring the lessons to make sure that the students are learning, you know, well, and that they're on the path they're supposed to be. And if there's anything that you need from us, just let us know. But we're looking forward to another wonderful year with you all.
Yeah, I want to just really quickly, because I know this is a common question. If your student has learning needs that you're anxious about them learning in a virtual setting, there are tutors who are really, really great at working with students with special needs. Look at that tutoring list and you'll look at the specialties section. You'll see it'll list special needs. Or you can always reach out to Marissa and she can guide you in the right direction if you're looking for a very specific tutor. All the tutors are trained and working online, so your students will have a positive experience no matter what. But if you're anxious and you are wanting to be more specific about who your child is working with, make sure to read those tutor bios. And then again, if you're having any other issues, just let us know. I want to open it up to questions and see. I know maybe it might feel like we rushed through a lot of information, but I want to remind you that a lot of this information is in writing on our website. Does anyone have any questions? You're welcome to unmute yourself or put it in the chat.
I just actually want to say one more thing, Carly. Sorry. We were doing online learning before it was cool, right? Before COVID. Now, sometimes people think it's uncool now because of COVID, but we are very picky about who we hire as teachers. Marissa's the head of our recruitment. And so you could be a fantastic educator on paper in person, but you may not be a great online educator. So we're very picky about who we hire, young, passionate Jewish educators who have a lot of experience, both with the text and the content, as well as with teaching online. So they go through an extensive training process and they have to teach us before we let them teach anybody. So you have great people working with your kids.
Yeah, and to add to that, I was telling Carly earlier that I've had teachers throughout the year that they are telling me they can't take any more students because they're holding it for their old eBrew students because they love working with our eBrew students. So that's a good sign.
Yeah, the students really, they develop special relationships with their tutors. We've had students go on trips to New York where their tutor lives and they get dinner with their tutor in person. A lot of these tutors live all over the country. Most of them live on the East Coast in Central Time. So that reminds me that the reason we start in November and not at the beginning of the school year is because we start after the daylight savings time shift. Arizona likes to complicate things when we work with people who aren't from our state because, as you probably know, there is a 3-hour time difference for part of the year and then a 2-hour time difference for part of the year. So to avoid confusion at the beginning of the eBrew year, we start after the time zone shift. And then just looking ahead, I think in March is when it shifts back. You'll get a notification from your tutor if that affects or impacts at all their availability to teach you. For the most part, it doesn't, but occasionally it might. It's really not a problem that we deal with until March. So just looking ahead, if you're anxious about that, make sure to talk to your tutor about what it might look like after daylight savings time shifts back. Any other questions at all? I don't want to rush up people out, but I know it's kind of dinner time and nighttime and bedtimes and your relaxing time, so I don't want to keep you too long. Okay, if questions arise, email us. I'm going to shoot you an email in just a couple minutes with a link to our website. You're welcome to go online and register as soon as you get that email. Thank you so much, Rabbi Danny and Marissa. Appreciate your time. I know it's late for you guys, so thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening and happy Hebrewing. Bye-bye.